This is part 2, continuation from the other part where I talked about the whole my mom's ex trying to break in and threaten everybody, and then I went to the first hospital. I was sent to the second hospital, and that's for the mental health part. I needed help walking because my legs were so stiff and painful. I was brought to what looked like a freaking dungeon. Not even joking. It was terrifying. The window was even covered in whatever it was to prevent you from jumping out the window. Everything was very dim, gloomy colors, and the bathroom was like a silver kind of toilet. There was a single mattress, and it was freezing cold. And worst of all was I was on my period at the time. I asked to call my family, and they just kept saying, they will. Every time I asked multiple times, because I was worried about my cat, because I wanted to make sure she was safe, because my mom's ex is known to have situations, but they never called them. When I did get out, my mom did tell me that they never informed her that I was asking to call them, and they never informed me that they were trying to call me and get a hold of me too, because even though I got transferred, they still had no idea where it was. The hospital, neither hospital, told them where I was. So my mom was freaking out, and I had no idea because they didn't know where I was. And when she had called and asked the first hospital, they tried to tell her there was nobody in my description ever being in that hospital. I asked the lady to go home, and she said, I'm here for rest. And I was like, it's not restful, it's traumatizing. I'm very, very traumatized. I just want to go home to my cat, to my room. And she said, well, I'd be here until 24 hours. And she said since I had come in at a certain time, I would be out by like 7 a.m. or so. And so I was like, So after I slept, I got woken up by a nurse, and they brought me to a different room. It wasn't like a dungeon. It was a shared room. And then suddenly I had 3 nurses. 2 were female, 1 was male. They were asking to do blood work, and I have a phobia of needles, like, very intensely, so I was like, no. And then I asked the male nurse if he wanted to go for a walk with me in the hall, and he said yes. And we grabbed hands, and we swung them, and I was skipping down the hall, and we were skipping down the hall on the right side, and it was by the kitchen, like that area, and there were cameras, and he had stopped right outside the door. There's a nursing station door, but he has to have his key card to swipe it to open the door, because everybody in that building, all the patients or whatever, are locked in. They can't get out. And we let go of hands, and I was just standing there looking at the door. And he was standing there, and then he backed away for a moment, and then he turned, and you've probably seen all the videos of me saying this. He turned and elbowed me in the chest really hard. I fell, and instantly I thought something was broken. It was so hard to breathe, and I just had such intense pain. I couldn't get up right away. I actually had to have the other nurses, they came to help me up because I couldn't stand. It was so hard. He backed away from me with his hands up. He was just like, oh, no. And because the other two nurses were like, what did you do? What did you do? And he was just like, hands straight up in the air. And it was just, he never got in trouble. And instead of him getting reported or in any trouble, the one who got hurt was sent to a separate room. So I couldn't tell anybody what he had done who hadn't already seen it. And I couldn't find a way to call for help because they never let me use the phone. So they kept me from the phones, from calling my family. I was locked in a room and there was no clocks. And I was still recovering from dehydration. There was no sink that had running water. There was no water at all. And I'm not interested in drinking toilet water because and I was just stuck there. And I was already in pain from him hitting me. And then they came in and then they hurt me further by pushing me down to the mattress, and they twisted my neck away it shouldn't go, and it cracked, and I felt it go up. If you've ever had that, you know that feeling where it just goes up, and it feels like it goes up through your head. And my back, they twisted it wrong, so they twisted my spine, and they put my head right in the mattress, like what you envision seeing happening on television shows of cops doing to people, where they just can't move, and it's so hard. And all I feel is I'm tugging down my pants to do it in my butt, and the only thing I could think of was shouting, "Not in the butt!" Because I panicked, right? And I said, I have a heart condition, and I tried to get more out. I'm afraid of needles, though. But they didn't care, and they did it in my arm instead, my left arm, in my shoulder. I had no idea what it was. They did not know my records. They didn't know anything about my health, my condition. They never weighed me before putting anything in my body. And I reacted very badly. I'm just going to say I'm very lucky to be alive right now. The chest pains were instant. It went all the way up to my shoulder, this burning pain. I've never felt anything like it before. I thought I was dying. I was mostly curled up and crying for the longest time in pain. And then I moved to the bathroom where I thought I'd be safe there, that they couldn't get me if I had just stayed there. And I was just in a corner crying and thinking I was going to die. I did go out when I noticed there was cameras. I kept shouting, help, help. I waved my arms. I looked at the front of the door that they had locked, and I tried to look through there, but there was no one on the other side. No one was caring. No one wanted to come, and I thought I was going to vomit. Thankfully, they didn't give me anything to eat, and I didn't have anything to drink, or I would have had something to throw up. But I was in there for more than 10 hours alone without any water.